and then get up and go, hey, whatever the Spirit's telling you to do that. That's it. It's not my job to compel you to do anything. The Bible tells me not to do that. I'm going to ask you to obey the Spirit. If he's told you not to give today, don't give today. If he's told you to give everything today.
Yeah. Can you, as we get into it, let's just hear a little bit about For Church Agency, because last time you were on the show, we talked about your church. So this is a new endeavor for you. Share with us a little bit about starting the agency, why you guys got into this, and maybe share this specific niche that you guys are focusing on, this generosity piece, why you feel like that's important.
About just some of the ways that the Lord had really blessed us with both insight into information, things we had done. And we kept, like, the genesis of the organization really started when we kept having people come ask us how we pulled off some of the things we pulled off.
What kind of impact did you see in increased numbers jumping into small groups, increased people jumping into additional volunteer opportunities, like getting more plugged into the community within the church beyond just, are you giving to this place? Welcome back to the Ministry Growth Show. Today on the show, I'm going to be talking with Copper Nelms. He is the co-founder of For Church Agency. Copper, thanks for coming on the show again. This is your second time.
Second time. We need to make this
Let's
a habit.
go.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We need to make this a regular occurrence and habit.
Hey,
it is always fun to talk to you, my man.
Yeah. Can you, as we get into it, let's just hear a little bit about For Church Agency, because last time you were on the show, we talked about your church. So this is a new endeavor for you.
Yeah.
Share with us a little bit about starting the agency, why you guys got into this, and maybe share this specific niche that you guys are focusing on, this generosity piece, why you feel like that's important.
Sure. So a year ago, something like that, me and my senior pastor, who is also our co-founder, we're having a conversation about just some of the ways that the Lord had really blessed us with both insight into information, things we had done. And we kept, like, the genesis of the organization really started when we kept having people come ask us how we pulled off some of the things we pulled off. We were in an urban area. We're able to, help plant from 0 to, I think we're now, 1,200 on average, something like that. And everybody's like, how did you do it? What'd you pull off? And so we were always having these conversations anyway about some things we learned, some things we tried. We had a massive experimental culture at Renovation, which will soon be united, which is awesome. And because of that, just kind of learned some things and decided that as I was rolling off staff about, I guess 9 months ago, something like that, that we wanted to really dig in deep of formalizing some of the things we had learned that were helping other people, that we had actually been, just giving away as people who served in the church, and helping them do that. And one of the places that we found that was in desperate need, because there's not a whole lot of innovation that has gone on in the generosity space. Right. It's more like stand up and ask people for money on a Sunday is basically the extent that most people get to. There are some, to be clear, there are a handful of organizations that are. I'll name them because they're amazing. One would be Generis. Go talk to Uncle Jim. He's amazing. Second would be, can't remember the cat's name, Lee Domain at Church of the Highlands, and the work they've done with their legacy team. Phenomenal innovations in space, just really phenomenal. But beyond those, there wasn't really much going on. And we had tried some things and figured some things out and really wanted to give them out in a way that was digestible and easily accessible, and really began helping with other churches grow their generosity in a way that actually is a cultural foundation of what their church is, beyond just trying to raise money. Because I think that was kind of the distinction that we realized, is that you can't, like, if you're just trying to raise money, it's just never really going to work out for you all that well. You're going to be in this endless cycle, in this loop. If you can build a generosity culture in your church, you're actually going to have something sustainable that is joyful. And like I don't know, man, you didn't ask for this. We kept getting a question over and over again. It's like, how do you guys just like talk about money without feeling bad? I said, because it's not like you think it's about the money, and it's not. And so building ways and to actually communicate those things that pastors feel they can communicate with conviction, while also like stokes and builds generosity within the church as a whole. So yeah, all that. That was a very long answer, but that's what we're doing. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you guys were able to recognize and notice about the innovations you were doing at your church? And then what came out of that as like distilled maybe systems, processes
Sure.
of what, like recognizing what you guys are doing and then putting that into a replicable process or practice?
So how about stories? Can we frame this in stories? Because I think it'll get to how we got where we were. So there is obviously a definitive line in every church's story, and it happened in March of 2020, and we call it the COVID pandemic, right? So we had just bought a building, sold our last building, had bought a building, had to renovate it, and COVID happened, and contractors stopped coming, and we had this wonderful giant piece of property that was not ready to be inhabited, that we had now mortgage on, and we couldn't physically gather for 14 months because we didn't have a CO on the building. So April 2021, 14 months, April 2021, we finally come back to gathering, and just without a CO, by the way. Just moved in. We were close. We were like 3 weeks away. It didn't matter. It was Easter. We had to do it anyway. But when we got there, we realized we had probably, like, my estimation is somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70% new congregation. And everybody coming out of COVID, like I was, all of us were, in this very weird emotional place. We had just spent 14 months or so, whatever the time was. In Atlanta, we couldn't go places. Like you could, but you also couldn't. And it was this weird in between. And we were all in a weird space, and we were feeling that pinch on our budget. We had to let go some of the staff. We kept on what we could, on and on and on. And we were feeling this. We now have this piece of property. Like, we got to figure out how to make it, but we can't run capital campaigns, because what is that going to feel like to a brand new congregation that doesn't trust us yet? Fundamentally, generosity happens in the church when two things come together. One, when God works in people's hearts and they actually become what I like to call like a soul of blessing, which is taken from a very poetic piece of scripture, but basically talks about how someone desires and loves blessing other people. Like, that's who they are as a person. So when that meets high trust in what the Lord is doing through a local church, you get generosity. We didn't know if we had any of those things. So we had to figure out a way to develop both of them inside of our church and create pathways for people to become to develop trust inside the organization with people who are brand new, and two, begin to create pathways for people to actually disciple and actually develop into being a soul of blessing, into being a generous person, and make that a natural part of what it means to follow Jesus. That felt normal, felt natural. This is just who we are as Christians, because we fundamentally believe this is who we are as Christians, right?
Right.
So that was where we were. And we had everything and nothing to lose. Like, it could have tanked along with other churches, or we were going to do great. Let's figure out what happens. And so I came over to the pastor, said, "Hey, I want to try some stuff, man. Like, let's go for broke." And so we began to work on, one, the messaging to frame the culture, right? Because we were a brand new church, basically. And we needed to make sure that the way we communicate was, one, obviously biblically faithful, but two, was communicating to our culture and our people in such a way that it invited and built trust. And so we worked on that. We then worked on the execution, and I'm going to get into some of these things in a second, if you want me to, of the actual system itself. So one of the things you have to ask when you are thinking through systems is, what does the money actually mean? Like, I don't think we give enough thought to actually considering what the money, what people are trying to tell us with the money. So like one of the things we realized first out is that, and this, everybody knows this is not unique to us, that you don't know who your church is anymore because you can't depend upon a Sunday morning attendance. And so you have to find other ways in which people are self-identifying who they are, what they want, and who your church actually is. And in a culture that is American consumerism, what we do with our money is probably the most important indication of that. Maybe not the singular, but it's definitely up there. And so what does the money mean, right? When someone's doing that, when someone gives to your church for the first time, what are they saying? Are they just tipping you? Because that's what I would hear a lot from other pastors, like, oh, people are just tipping, they're not tithing. I'm like, I don't think that's what they're doing. I really don't. So think about this, because this is one of the frameworks we feel. So the framework that we figured out was 1, 4, 12, 20, 48. 1, 4, 12, 48. So let's walk through that real quick, because I think that'll be one of the most helpful things that I could give anybody. Okay. And it's really asking the question of what do those things mean? So what does the first gift actually mean to people? From people, not for you as a church, but to the actual person who's giving it. So most of the time people don't give when they first show up, right? They're there. They've been hanging out, listening to the preaching, enjoying the worship, going by the coffee bar, maybe joining a small group, maybe going through a growth track or whatever you do. But they probably haven't given yet. So if that's the case, because we live like churches, like you can just be a part of it and never technically give. You don't have to. We're not going to make you do. We can't make you do anything. We don't want to make you do anything. So when that happens, what are they telling us? What we found out through conversations, through all the varying things we went through, was basically people saying hi. Like, I want to be seen. I'm giving you this because I like this place, and I want you to know I like this place, and I want you to know that I'm here. And so, if that's the case, if that's what they're actually meaning by the gift, then that changes how you approach it, right? So we entirely adapted our entire system around the idea that people were trying to say hi when they gave for the first time, that they're actually interested in being part of the church.
Okay.
So it's like, cool. So then we address it that way. So then we built out entire communication systems, follow-up systems based upon the fact that people were saying, I'd like to be part of your church. I'd like for you to know that I'm part of your church now. I'm interested in your church now. Like, that's cool. Point number one. So the retention from first gift to second gift went up overnight. Once we realized that that's what actually was happening. They were saying they were interested in being part of the church and being known by the church. Beautiful. So then what is the next significant thing? We started looking at what it was. The next gift we found that was the most significant was the fourth gift. The fourth gift, so again, think through the person's mindset, right? Mm-hmm. They've been coming to your church probably, on average, it's about 6 to 8 months before someone gives 4 times. Somewhere in there. It can be longer, it can be shorter, depending on who the person is and all the different reasons. But if that's the case, they've been given 4 times, they think that they're part of your church now. They're family. This is their home. After someone's given for 4 times, this is their home. Like they've locked in. They're probably, go ahead.
In their mind, they're committed. This is my
this
place
is my
I'm
home
calling
now.
home.
This is church home. I'm probably going to join a small group by now. I've probably been through growth track or your introductory thing or whatever it is. This is home. That is a very different conversation. You're home now. How has your experience been coming home? We love that you love us. Our hope in that 4th time gift is making sure that you have been able to plug into all of the systems necessary for your growth. Like, that's the hope. And so those conversations and those systems are very different. So we build out email campaigns and phone calls and text messages and all the things with the assumption that this person calls this place home now. Beautiful. And it worked. And that's exactly what was happening. And so from there, all of the other things started to track. So like our small group attendance would go up after that. Our growth track, our team serving attendance would go after that, because we've now, if someone's given 4 times, they love this place. Help them love it more. Like, it was that kind of thing. So We found out those, and then we found that we were missing. We were like, we figured it out. We cracked it. It just wasn't. We didn't figure anything out. We kept realizing there was this big, like, we had missed a spot, and that was on the 12th gift. The 12th gift is this beautiful pastoral gift. Someone's given to your church 12 times. Like, they're the committed people that you talk to other people about that you're so happy about. Like, they're the people that pastors go, this person is killing the game. And so what we found is that on every 12th gift, there needs to be a conversation with a pastor or leader of some kind. And it's nothing more than, how are you? Are you feeling great? What's been going on in your life? And what it did was, because this is people self-identifying, right? It allowed for us to build a pastoral care system that we didn't miss people anymore. Didn't miss any people. We missed far fewer people at that point. Because how terrible would it be that you're a committed giver of a church in a culture that money is God, that you're doing the thing that you ask them to do, and then you don't ever get recognized for it, and don't ever get celebrated, and don't ever get cared for it. And so we found that every 1, 4, 12, like if you hit first gift, fourth gift, and every 12th gift, you have basically covered so much of the pastoral care issues within the church itself, which goes to the number one thing a church has to have, which is trust. Like, you've got to build trust. So then there's 48, but that's a different thing. And I've talked too long.
So at that 12th gift, like, it was as simple as making an introduction or a conversation with someone from leadership.
It's not, I wouldn't say an introduction, it's a conversation.
Being known.
Yeah, it really is. Because, like, think about it. If you are, I'm a committed giver to my church. Mm-hmm. Every 12th gift, and I don't track that, but every 12th gift, one of the pastors of the church, one of these churches, are like, hey man, how's it going? What's been going on? That works. Here's the thing. For most people, that works out to about every year-ish, 13 months-ish, because most people give once a month. So what is not to love about a system that immediately kicks into a yearly checkup with the pastor of your church? Like, that's a phenomenal thing that you can automate almost entirely. And we did. We automate, we used Planning Center at the time. You do whatever. We automated an entire thing that just kicks up to a pastor every 12th gift, because we want to make sure that that's probably been a year. And here's the thing. Sometimes when it's working well, you talk to him last week anyway. We just call him like, hey. But one of the things we found that we needed to do to work on the other piece in each of these phases was actually communicate why we were doing what we were doing. Like, we told people, we're talking to you because you gave for the first time. Thank you so much for investing in the church. Investing in what God is doing through here. Like, I think this was the messaging piece I talked about before. Money's a thing. Why are we, like, it's only weird if you make it weird. As opposed to go, hey, we just want to be honest about what's going on. You've given 4 times to God through your church? Man, thank you so much. It's not weird. It's only weird if you go and going, I don't know if we can do this. They know we know. Right. Nobody's concerned. Everybody knows. So why are we trying to, like, feel uncomfortable about that? They are self-identifying something about them. I'm just acknowledging it.
Well, that's interesting that you guys there's a transparency there that we are tracking this. We are aware of what's going on, and we're going to communicate that. Like, I think that's where the problem starts to creep in, is when we follow some type of procedure like what you just outlined, but we're not honest about the fact that we are tracking this. We are aware of what's going on. Like, if you just voice it and communicate the truth and communicate transparently about the systems that you're following, and that you have given once, or you have given in your 4th time, and this is why we're reaching out. Like, just like you said, it doesn't become weird.
It's not weird.
I don't begin to start think like, okay, I just gave 4 months in a row. Why are they all of a sudden reaching out to me? Like, you've flat out communicated why you're reaching out, why you're checking in on me.
And when you make it as an indication for care for a person, no one's upset. It's when you make money the point that people start to feel like, whoa, what's this about? We just use most people show up to church like less than one time a month or something, whatever the new number is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want a way to make sure that if you call this place home, we're connected and I'm taking care of you. And this is the most definitive way I can find, because it's actually one of the few ways of coming in on a regular basis that I can point to. This person did this. It's not the only way, but it is one of the ways that we found that is the most. Again, this gets back to a cultural understanding, but like particularly in the States, man, like it's one of the most helpful ways to know. And it's honestly, you're as Christians, we're expecting people to do that anyway. Why would we not celebrate it?
Yeah.
Like what you celebrate gets repeated.
I think that's an important distinction as well, as what you just said is the point was not the money. It's just an indicator that allows us to connect to you and know you and be known by you.
Yeah.
And enter into deeper relationships. So as you guys followed that process or that procedure, again, not for the sake of just talking about the money, but allowing that to be the driver for your system, what kind of impact did you see in increased numbers jumping into small groups, increased people jumping into additional volunteer opportunities, like getting more plugged into the community within the church beyond just, are you giving to this place? Even though that seems like on the surface, the primary driver for all of this, the heart is not that. What kind of downstream impact did you see as you guys tracked based off of that?
Yeah. Well, let me even address the thing with like that, because that's the point that everybody was asking when we would do it. And like, it's like, oh, you see what people are giving. I said, you don't? So let me, again, I think we've said it, like, if every pastor I know has gone on record and say that we live in a hyper-consumeristic culture. I would go so far as to say we don't live in a consumeristic culture anymore. We live in an addiction culture. It's probably a different conversation for a different time, right? And people are actively taking a process of breaking that, even if it's $5, even if it's a quarter, even if it cost us more in a transaction fee than you gave that day. Somebody took a step of going, I'm going to take a step in breaking the chains of this culture by giving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, we would do that for every other thing. Like we would celebrate when someone jumped into a small group that had been living in isolation for so long, and we did. But why wouldn't we do it with this? It's only because that feeling that people have is either you are like, here's how I've experienced it with other pastors, I like coaching them or whatever. If they feel that, one of two things is going on. One is that it actually is about the money for them. And that's a problem. Like, you should probably feel that check in your soul is probably good. Like, that's a problem. Or second, they've believed the lie of the culture that money is in fact a god and we can't talk about it. One of two things is going on. I don't know. But if you believe it is an act of worship, an act of discipleship, it's not about the money. And like, we would even say that on a Sunday morning, that I just want you to give, period. If we don't have your trust yet, I'm not joking. I would literally send to people a list of nonprofits. I just think you need to give. Here's a list of nonprofits that we don't have your trust yet. You'll give here when you trust us. It's fine. We're not worried about that. I need you to break the hold of consumerism. So here's a list of local nonprofits. They're phenomenal. Go there. Give there. Be here until we have your trust. And we loved it. It was great. And people started to actually see that this was a necessary part of their walk with Jesus. And again, it's a longer play. Let's be very clear. Like, standing up and doing capital campaigns is the quick play. If you need to raise money, go do a capital campaign. It works. Capital campaigns are fundamentally just marketing campaigns, and they work, and you should do them if you need to raise a lot of money very quickly. To be very clear, I'm not against that. If you're trying to stoke and build generosity in a church, you just got to go about it. Like you just got to go about it differently. Capital campaigns are a function of that, but it's not the only way. It's not even the best way. So to your question, now that my ADHD got us, got me. Sorry about that. What do we see? So one, let's talk vibes and then practicals, because vibes matter, right?
Okay.
People started to just like rejoice during giving. Like people would give and let us know with joy that they gave for the first time. Like smile. It was only $2, and we would celebrate the $2. We didn't care. The act of giving became worship. Like if you think about it, even in like a Sunday morning situation, right? It's the only chance, one of two chances probably, that you have to actually respond to what you've received from God. So the other would be whatever, and that's if it works in there. The other would be if your pastor like asked of something of you during the sermon. That would be your one chance. This is the only other opportunity you have on a Sunday morning to respond to what you receive from God. And if we believe acting is an act of worship, like responding to what he's done in worship, you have this unique opportunity to go, this is our response today. And it changed the entire tenor of how we talk about money, of how we engage the conversation, of how we did everything. People were excited about giving, which in and of itself is a win.
Right.
Like vibes mattered, man. So it became an act of worship. Cool. One, what did we see from that process? One, we saw that it created the system we were using when using this as part of the system. It created necessary conversations about the other aspects of people's lives that needed to be cared for. So let's take an example, right? If you're tracking giving as you should be doing, right? Let's pretend someone's been faithfully giving for 6 months, a year, whatever, name the thing. And then all of a sudden they stop for 3 months. That is a really good sign something's going on. And you should call that person. And you should go, hey, is everything okay? And again, that sounds like, oh my God, you're trying to get them to give. No, if you've established the culture that we just use this as an indication to see how you're doing, I'm not going to ask you to give anything right now. That doesn't happen unless something happened. And I just want to know if something happened. Dude, the amazing, wonderful aspects we get to care for people in that is phenomenal. And we would do it every year. We would go look and say, hey, has somebody not given in 4 months that's regularly given? And you set up systems to do that, and you get a follow-up with them. Cool. So that then allowed for all these other aspects to work. So our small groups actually went up in attendance, God, year over year, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 30%, like year over year, because we were more engaged as a team, because we knew we could see what stuff was happening in a world where everything felt effusive. So that went up. Serving on teams went up, probably about 25-ish, 35-ish%, something like that. Like all the major metrics just went up because that as an indicator in the system allowed for us to engage people better. And it was just a really great, again, of course, giving went up. Like that's the thing everybody wants to hear. Of course it went up. Yeah, sure. It went up dramatically, right? But for all of the other pieces, it allowed for us to engage better. And it allowed for all of this to be seen as a function and mode of people's discipleship and journey with Jesus. So it's really cool. Do you want specifics? I can tell you anything you want to know.
No,
about things
this is good.
And not even just there, but like even the stuff that we're seeing with the other clients that we're working with right now.
Yeah. So now that you guys, before we get into how you've distilled it and are now helping other churches follow these same systems and processes, talk to me about the 48 aspect piece.
Oh, sure. Number. So there should be a rhythm. So 1, 4, 12, 48. So first time gift, fourth gift, 12th gift, 48 giving moments. Now there's 52. There's however many Sundays in a year. You need 48. And they should be specifically around two things. One, helping people, teaching people what it means to be a soul of blessing or a generous person or whatever it looks like. It can look like biblical teaching. That can look like the impacts that you've given, like of what giving does. You're basically helping people, discipling people into what it means to be a soul of blessing. So when a church is first starting out, I recommend twice a month there's just some sort of biblical teaching. And it's about not giving to God through your church, but about giving to God at all. Just give. Like we just need people to give. And so we would work through like my favorite, and I love starting out with this one because it's my absolute favorite, because it's the only place in the Bible that says don't give. In 2 Corinthians 9:7. It's the one that says God loves a cheerful giver. Before that, it says you shouldn't give if somebody compels you to give, which I love so much. I love it so much because it works against everything we know. It's like Paul is trying to tell people, this is the best possible thing you can do for your soul. Don't do it if somebody is trying to compel you or under compulsion, because God wants you to do it with joy. That is a very different tone. And so twice a month, you need to be discipling people's hearts in that moment. And you can literally do it in 2.5 minutes. It doesn't take long. Like there's so much in the Bible about it. This is what it looks like. Cool. That. Second is building trust in your church. What does it look like 48 times a year to take 1.5 minutes and help your church, help display trust to the congregation in your church, in what God is doing through your church specifically, right? So again, that can be, what are you doing in the community? That can be financial updates if that's a necessary thing. It just really depends on the context. That can be if you're running a capital campaign updates. If you're celebrating first-time givers. So when someone gives for the first time, you celebrate the fact that they gave for the first time. So we do this once a month with everybody that gave for the previous month. We don't say names or anything because that would be weird. But we do say 37 people gave for the first time last month. Let me tell you why that matters. That matters because that is a sign that your church is growing by people. That is 37 different families that decided that they wanted to be known by this church. That everybody wants to celebrate, right? And it reinforces trust in your church because like it's not about the money. It's an indicator of we want to care and love you, right? So you 48 times a year, half the time develop the soul of the person and what does the Bible say about this. The other half the time you are developing trust in your organization. You do that, that's the game. That's the whole ball game right there.
So at the 48, does that look like? You mentioned that it could be as simple as 1 to 2 minute engagements. It doesn't necessarily have to be some class that they're being invited into, or
no, Lord, no.
So it's there. Like, walk me through that tangibly. What that 48
sure.
like
So
versus the 12.
Sure. So the 12 is an interpersonal phone call, right? It needs to be a phone call or a coffee or something on the 12. Like you're reducing the distance between people. 12 and that. 48 is very public. So we look at that as like a Sunday morning kind of thing. Because we see giving as an act of worship to God, a response to all he's done for us, right? One of the things we would say is that generosity is the outworking of gratitude. And so if you believe that, beautiful. So what does that look like on a Sunday morning? So we would go through things like, some of the churches I'm coaching right now, I even tell them, I said, hey, you should actually just stand up and say the thing you're saying, and then have people reflect on the goodness of God they've experienced for 30 seconds with no one talking. And they go, what do you mean? I say, just stand up there and go, generosity is an outworking of gratitude. So here's what I'm asking you today. Where has God been good to you? How have you experienced? We oftentimes live in a crazy busy world. We never get a moment to reflect on the goodness of God. I'm going to ask you right now, in this moment of generosity, I want you to actually think about how he's been good to you. Take 30 seconds and literally just don't talk. sit there in quiet, or band playing, because I like to move. We need band. If it's total silence, it's going to be weird. So keep the band playing. But stand there and let people contemplate the goodness of God. And then get up and go, hey, whatever the Spirit's telling you to do that. That's it. It's not my job to compel you to do anything. The Bible tells me not to do that. I'm going to ask you to obey the Spirit. If he's told you not to give today, don't give today. If he's told you to give everything today. I don't care. Just be obedient. And doing that, again, forms 48 times a year that this is about my walk with the Lord, and this church can be trusted with me. Not just my money, me. And so in that, you get the whole person, right? Which is what you want. Right. Because again, when money is an idol, like idols are sensitive, right? We don't like people touching them. Everybody's got an issue with that. I got an issue with that. Everybody, if you live in these United States, you got an issue with that. Mm-hmm. We're working on it, right? And so if that's the case, I need to know I can trust you. Like there's a handful of ways you can deal with idols. Let's just go esoteric for a second. You can come in, you can see someone has an idol, and you can come in and you can like chop it down and set it on fire in front of them. You can do that. I don't recommend it. You see it sometimes in the Bible, so it's definitely an option, right? It's definitely biblical to walk up and just set someone's idol on fire. I tend to not endear a lot of trust, and the people in the Bible that did that tend to not last a long time. Mm-hmm. They went out in a blaze of glory, but they didn't go out, a flame that burns brightly, burns quickest kind of thing. Yeah. You can do that, sure. Or you can help people know that there is a better world over here and that you can be trusted into helping them get to it. Hey, it's an idol. I know you like it. I'm not even telling you to put it down today. I am telling you to look over here and see this beautiful thing that God has given us. What do you think he would have you do? I think one is going to, in our context, there we go. In our context, I think that one is far more salient for people than just trying to burn the thing down. Burning the thing down on a practical basis was like, we didn't get enough in the offering today and y'all are sinning. Like, that's not okay. Like, let's not do that. And so you take, again, back to your main question, you take the 48 times a year and you help people see that this idol is hurting them and you can be trusted. And that's it. And you get the whole ballgame.
So we've all seen the statistics, at least in the Western church, the average congregation gives 2% or something like that. So as you guys it's real bad. As you guys incorporated these systems, started putting them in practice, obviously there was some innovation going on along the way, figuring things out. Once you had this system in place and you started following these processes, what did you see? Were you guys a 2% church at the beginning of all this?
Oh, the beginning,
You were among a lot of the other churches in the West.
Oh yeah, so we were very normal.
Yeah. So what did you see as you guys put this into practice? Did you start to see that rise in a significant way across the entire congregation?
Absolutely. So let me hear some quick numbers in what's average for the churches that we've worked with. And then, so here's the average is that from like day one, you pull the trigger on pulling this, 14 months later, your giving's up by 45%. Here's the bigger point. People are happy doing it. They like it. They're like, oh, this is fun, right? Working and fighting against greed is a better way of life. Oh my God. But it's up like 45%. So like what we found, so on average, it'll be up about 45%. What we're also seeing, and this is the fun part, this is the really fun part, is that the giving per person is going up. So it's not just that a handful of very generous people are giving more. That is happening. But also the individual gift per person is actually going up year over year. They're becoming generous, more and more generous, because again, they're seeing it as a process. So I think that answers your question pretty straightforward. Yeah, like that's actually what's happening is that the generosity of the people are growing overall. So yeah, but yeah, on average, about 45% we see year over year. And then for us, the first time we did it, and this is why I don't say this is, I don't think this is standard. This was coming out of COVID. And so it was a really unique circumstance that I don't like to point to as what happened for everybody. It's happened for other people, but it was a really unique circumstance. We saw giving go up year over year 67%. And then the individual giving went up 55 the next year. Sorry, that was year one. And then the next year, the individual giving went up 55. So yeah. Again, out of COVID, there was a lot of things going on. Yeah. So it was a unique circumstance, but it works even in like today's context. So yeah.
Yeah, that's not insignificant, man. That's cool. Well, Copper, I want to make sure that we take a moment to hear from today's sponsor, but when we come back, let's continue this discussion. All right. Hey, ministry leaders. Today's episode is sponsored by Click Nonprofit. Are you looking to grow your ministry but don't have the money or marketing knowledge to make that happen? There's good news. Google offers an advertising grant to churches and ministries that is worth $10,000 per month. This means that if your ministry is a 501c3 nonprofit, you are eligible to receive $120,000 per year in free advertising dollars. This allows you to place ads at the top of Google search results page and drive thousands of visitors to your ministry website every month. Our sponsor, Click Nonprofit, helps your ministry acquire this Google ad grant and then manages your Google ads to ensure you get the most out of the grant. Schedule a free consultation at clicknonprofit.com to learn more about how this grant can help your specific ministry. Mention the Ministry Growth Show when you sign up and get 20% off your first 3 months of management. Hey, welcome back to the Ministry Growth Show. We've been talking with Copper Nelms of For Church Agency. Copper, as we get back into the conversation, share with me a little bit about For Church Agency, what you guys are doing as you start this thing up. Obviously, you've got a handful of clients where the relationship sounds like it's a consultancy type relationship, but what are some of the things that you guys are doing to innovate and make this system that you've developed within your own church applicable and almost cut and paste or copy and paste into any given church context, size, location? Like what does that look like for you guys as you innovate in that space?
Sure. So one of the things we wanted to do was I don't know, man. Maybe it's being like a third generation pastor. Maybe I just love God's house. And I just genuinely think that the best churches in the world are probably the ones you've never heard of. That just need the right tools and resources to thrive, to just absolutely max out who they are, right? So we took some of these things, like even the reason we started, me and my co-founder started this, was because we kept having conversations around this and other things. They're like, how did you pull that off? I'm like, well, okay, well, here's what we did. We need to adapt it to your context, but here's what we did, right? And these are some things we did here. And it kept coming up to the point that it felt like we needed to formalize this a bit. And so, yeah, kind of rolled out there to do it. I think I told you, I rolled off staff like 9 months ago or something like that for this. And so what we've been doing right now is taking these things that we've learned and applying them to our other clients right now who are just hiring us as consultants. And the reason that we wanted to start there was that we wanted to take those things and figure out what are the key essentials that everybody needs to be able to take this. You can plug it into your church and it will work, right? Now, given context, it may vary between however to however, but it's going to have a substantive impact on what we're doing in the space of developing generosity within our church context, right? And so we're right now trying to take the things like the 1, 4, 12, 48 is a piece of that, right? What does it look like to give someone everything they need to be able to contact a first-time giver in a way that's going to facilitate generosity in their heart and trust in the organization, right? What does that look like? Most like I don't know, man. Almost every pastor I know got into it because they care about people. Not all of them, but most of them. And so we genuinely just want to help them do that in a way that's better. Like call it just like crazy levels of trust in the Lord. I genuinely think every church has what it needs. Like I genuinely, like in my core, believe that you can accomplish the vision that God has given you for your community with what's there. Like I don't know, man. I think I've just seen too much in like the positive sense. I've seen just people decide that they're all in and give everything they need to fund a wing for kids with neurodivergence and like autism and like I've seen that happen, right? And not just in like one, but like in so many churches. The issue is that we find ourselves in spaces with not having the tools we need to foster this type of culture to where that's something that people will actually do without having this burning bush moment from the Lord going, give $1 million to fund an autism. Like that's not that. Sure, you could do that, or you can build a system that makes that common. I choose the latter, right? We're always going to depend on the Spirit. I choose to do everything I can to build a system that makes that type of environment common. And so, yeah, it's building out those things right now. So we're working on stuff like that right now. It's been fun. I was just in New Jersey with, by the way, phenomenal church. If you're in New Jersey, go to Accelerate Church. They're phenomenal. They're in Mount Laurel, I think. Mount Laurel. You know that thing where like you fly and you forget exactly what town you're in because you went somewhere? They're in New Jersey. I believe it's Mount Laurel. Anyways, phenomenal church, man. Phenomenal church. And they were dealing with this. They had like, man, we're a church of, they have, I think on an average of like 450 to 500 on a weekend, but their budget was reflective of a church that was around, let's call it 150 on a weekend. And I was just like, what? And so we got into there and we started working with some of the systems, applying some of the frameworks that we built. And we had new work and then kind of adapting some of the things. And dude, like overnight it started to change. And not just in the actual amount. Yeah, that happened. But you've started to see the way that the congregation talks about it is different. And there's like, they're one of the best churches I've ever been to. And they just needed this piece of like the tool to be able to run with it. And so we're trying really, really hard to actually build those tools in a way that is affordable for your average church. So that's the goal anyway.
Right now, what are you inviting these churches into right now?
Sure, I have nothing to give anyone today. I have nothing to sell you. No, we have an actual value. We don't sell anything. We only add value. So, but if you're interested to know more, you can just go to our website and join the wait list. That's the best way to do it. That's the best way for it, is because we're working right now to hone in on the right product at the right amount so that people can plug and play and actually start seeing some of these things happen.
So what can a church expect by joining that wait list? Are they going to be participating in this innovative process, this trial and error phase of the agency?
They'll help us hone in on what is the right amount for something like this? Because we're still trying to, because there's nothing I can find that kind of exists in like the market for this. There's either buy the consultant, which again you can do, come hire me, great, or you go use like these free things that are phenomenal, by the way. Again, I think you should go talk to Generis. Their free stuff is awesome. You've got that end of the spectrum, and so it's like, cool. I either got to spend $40,000 a year to hire a consultant to come in and fix things, or I'm just going to go kind of piece together some individual free tools that I'm finding online. I think there's something in the middle where like it's a packaged product people can buy and then implement into their system. And so what we're trying to do right now is figure out what is the right price for that? What is the deep need of each church, the general deep need of each church that they're trying to address, and how we would tailor the product to it. So I don't have anything to sell. Sorry. I know you're supposed to come on podcasts and sell stuff. I'm just bad at that. I'm just really bad at it. But yeah, no, that's the best thing to do is go to our website and go on the wait list. And then when we start rolling out, probably mid-year, like maybe early fall, we'll
have a better idea of what that looks like.
You'll be able to jump in and see what that looks like. So
cool. Well, you know how passionate I am about story. I know you're passionate about it. What role does storytelling play in all this? You kind of touched on it a little bit in the beginning of some of those, maybe between the 4 and the 12 touch points, of celebrating what's going on, the transformation taking place in people's lives.
Sure.
How does storytelling find a role within these systems you guys have developed?
Sure. So let's. How do you feel about going like esoteric for a minute, like real,
let's do it.
Real high level? All right. This is going to sound weird. Stay with me, okay? I think Ozempic is actually helping us figure this out. And I know that sounds crazy. Have you actually read the research on this yet? No. Okay. It's a quick thing. All right, let me give you a quick history of this because it's fascinating. All right. Guy named Dr. Eng, I think is his name, trying to help diabetics manage their blood sugar, studying the venom of the Gila monster, because the Gila monster can survive on 3 meals a year. So like there has to be something in a regulating blood sugar. Figure it out. Finds this thing called a GLP, right? I forget something about peptide. I forget the actual name of it. But basically, it helps regulate blood sugar. Cool, great. He's like, I think we might have found something to help diabetics. They end up synthesizing it, so calling it a GLP-1, a gluide peptide antagonist, whatever it is, right? It's phenomenal in helping diabetics regulate their sugar, by the way. It's just so good. But then they discover in the human trials that not only is their sugar regulated like crazy, they're losing like ridiculous levels of weight, which is what we know Ozempic by the way. Because in the States, if you've got like a pill or a shot to help people lose weight, sucker's going to sell, right? And so that's how we know it came about. And so it's like, oh man, this has fun. And like the reason that it mattered is because the only thing that got close to even doing that kind of weight loss was like a gastric bypass, like the bariatric surgery. The only thing that even got close to that kind of weight loss. And it's a shot. Cool. That's why we know it. Here's what's really, really interesting, man. Like what other people started reporting was happening to them beyond weight loss is insane. People gave up gambling being on Ozempic. They reported quitting smoking. They reported spending more time with their families and spending less time on screens. They reported, and this one got me too. It got me thinking really about it. They reported spending less money, and like not on food, like emotional shopping. They were spending less money. They just didn't do it anymore. There's a doctor studying this, and I can't remember his name right now, but he put out on Twitter that this drug seems to be the antidote for the problem of our time, which is overconsumption. And it's like, that's wild, dude. That's super wild.
Well, and it sounds like inhibitor to addiction.
It seems to be an inhibitor to addiction, which is crazy. Because like, so, but here's what got me interested in like when I go that direction. Okay. There's a phenomenal book called The Age of Addiction. In it, it's a great book. It's like a PhD wrote it out of University of North Florida. I think his name's Courtwright. Doesn't matter. Basically, he coins this term called limbic capitalism. He says, while addiction's always been a thing in our context, we now depend upon addiction in the American context to survive. Because we're no longer consumers, they're all trying to make us addicts. So if that's the case, And I actually believe he's right, by the way. I actually think that our context is basically run on people's addictions.
Mm.
When it comes to giving in your church, if you just tell people that something's wrong, it probably won't change anything, because when's the last time yelling at a drug addict fixed them?
Right.
People aren't giving. They're not joining small groups. They're not doing the things they're doing because they're addicts. I'm fighting addiction every day of my life. I'm fighting addiction to a screen. I'm fighting addiction to video games, food, every one of us is fighting because it's designed to, like, the reason our food causes obesity such a rapid rate is that it's designed to be really tasty. Like, it's not supposed to taste that good. Like, McDonald's is not supposed to taste that good, and it does, and it's delicious. Like, all of us, if we live in an addict culture, how we approach discipling people has to change. Because addicts have information. Like, every single drug addict I've ever loved in my life, ever known in my life, knows it's bad for them. Mm-hmm. Every one of them. They just don't know how to change. This is actually why I think the church is like the greatest gift God could give people, because the number one way you beat addiction is through community. And so, like, I think we have to begin looking at the problem differently around how we approach discipling people, around people's giving, around even storytelling. Like, what is it when you talk to people who have struggled with addiction of some kind, some like severe addiction, let's call it like a name the thing that's like literally destroying their lives. The thing they don't see is hope. They just don't see it. That's why they're addicts. They feel like they've gone down into the pit so far they can't get out. We have no better mechanism for displaying hope than a story. Like, the story that we tell as Christians is that you're never too far gone because Jesus beat death. I'm sorry, what? Come again? You mean there's no addiction in this life that can't be beaten? There's no addiction in this life that can't be beaten. We have the answer. But crafting that narrative in a salient way takes a lot of effort. And so, be it with people's giving, be it with name the thing, church attendance, small group, and name whatever the thing is people are trying to figure out inside. If you approach it as though you're not dealing with rebellion, you're not dealing with ignorance. Sometimes you are. I think some people are. I really do. I think some people are probably ignorant. I don't think we can minimize the level of biblical ignorance feels like a strong word, but like just lack of knowledge, biblically speaking, that people have. I don't think we should minimize that. But they can go get. I can go to Gemini right now. Give me everything the Bible says about blank, and it'll do it pretty good. You can go to, sorry, if you want to do a better one, you can go to signuporchurch.tech. They give you like free 3 trials or whatever it is. Give me, I don't know, name a pastor's Jonathan Edwards excursus on what love looks like in the modern day context, and you'll get it. A pretty good version of it. It's not a lack of information. It's a lack of hope. And when you can show people, tell people that there is hope with other people, I think you've got a powerful message there to help break the things that are bothering all of us. Again, like I said, we're all, if you live in the States, dude, you're fighting addiction of some kind, somewhere. The thing that keeps me from losing the battle to that is the people of God. Like, my best answer to everything is, you should tell someone who cares about you what that looks like. Let me tell you a story about what that's done for my life. So yeah, I think that we have to craft a story that shapes from people's mind that there is hope with the people of God. Not just with Jesus, and I need to be really clear, with the people of God. I'm anti-Jesus in isolation. Like, solitude is great. I'm anti-Jesus in isolation. The Bible does not give that. You're wrong if you think you're Jesus. It's not the Bible. But Jesus with his people, that is a story of hope that I don't think that nothing can defeat, man. Like, the only way it gets defeated is self-defeated if we stop believing it and stop living it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's how story frames things. We've got to deal with the addiction that we're all dealing with.
Mm. So help me make the connection between Ozempic and the storytelling piece.
Sure. Ozempic revealed that we're all addicts.
Okay.
Ozempic revealed that we're all addicts. And the answer to addiction is the story of Jesus and his people. It's hope that there is a way out. Like, let's take an example, right? Let's stick with Ozempic real quick. The story of someone's fitness journey is really inspiring for other people to get on a fitness journey because it's hope. Like, that's fundamentally what stories give us, is that there is a way out. Someone sees me. They've been where I'm at and they got out. Here's the story of how they got out. And I think that let us see that the story we're trying to craft is very different. Like, I think that's fundamentally what it is, dude. It's like a story for someone who lacks information is different than the story who's struggling with addiction. And I think American culture is struggling with addiction.
And so when you guys started playing with and inserting story into these processes, it was that story of hope. This is somebody who was walking in addiction to greed or our consumeristic behaviors, and as they began being generous, this is what happened.
And we tell these stories all the time. I mean, I would tell my personal story, right? I would tell, I have many where God asked me to, oh, here's a good one, right? Oh, this is great. Perfect. This is how a story works out. I wouldn't tell this like from the stage or anything because I don't like making myself feel like the hero ever, because I'm not. But I remember my wife and I, we obviously wanted to buy a house like everybody else did, right? We had 2 kids. House is hard. We got a really unique situation where, this was before COVID, where someone was going to let us live in their house while they were away on a trip for 9 months for $400. It was a nice house. And I was like, baby, this is the one. This is the one. This is the moment. Everything we prayed for, the Lord is delivering us from rent hell. So we did it. And we saved up it was a down payment. It was like 20 grand or something. I forget exactly the amount. 15 grand? What doesn't matter. Anyway, it was a lot. It was a lot of money for a down payment. And we had it, we were ready to go. And then we started, we had an initiative at our church for getting into the building that we're currently in. And just like we always said, right? Praying, you submit it to whatever Spirit's telling the congregation. And so we went home and prayed. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to fast and pray. And you're going to come back with a number. And I want to tell you if the Spirit agrees with me. And my wife came back with basically all of they said the Spirit feel like we're supposed to give away all of it. I went, no, absolutely not.
That's not what I heard.
That is not what the Lord said. That is not what he said, baby. You need to go back again. Is it like, this is always, how are our wives like always more faithful than we are? Like, it's always the case. I hear this over and over again, like stories like this. Like, the guy was like, I'm out. And my wife's like, no, we're going to follow the Lord. How? Maybe you're not looking hard enough at this. Anyway, felt the deep conviction of the Lord, did it. Did not get a house. Until in the middle of COVID, when housing prices are skyrocketing. But the interest rates are ridiculously low, but nobody can get a house. I went and saw 80 houses. Physically went and saw 80 houses during that time. Nothing would fall. It was disheartening in every way. Kept praying. And then this house that I'm currently standing in right now popped up. And we had saved up a little money since then to try to do it again. Didn't know how we were going to pull it off. And I don't know how to tell you, buying this house was easier than like getting a credit card. It was the easiest large financial transaction I've ever had in my life, to where everything lined up like, this is what we've got for down payment. Oh, that'll be just fine. Okay, we're going to have to get this kind of interest rate to make it. Look at that interest rate. Okay, cool. Okay, we've been outbid on this is back when people were outbidding like 30, 40 grand above houses. We bid under and got it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great house. It's like 2,700, 2,500 square feet, whatever it is, in a wonderful neighborhood. And it just worked out. That is a story about how God can actually help you when you are generous to what he asks you to do. And these are stories like this all the time. And here's the thing that I would say with like churches is that churches should have those on an organizational level too. Like if you don't have as an organizational level as a church, we gave to X when we needed to build blank or we needed to hire blank, you're going to have a really hard time continuing to build trust in the organization if you haven't as an organization suffered under the pain of generosity. It's going to feel very duplicitous. Like you haven't said, you know what, we needed to hire a small groups director, but there's a church in Brazil that for the same amount, we could fund that church in Brazil that's going to like, if you haven't done that before, it's going to feel duplicitous, right? But if you do that, you'll also know, like it's also going, God will make a way. And it's stories like that that help us see a way out of our addiction. Because let's be very clear, I was addicted to buying a house. I was looking at Zillow and Redfin for hours every night. This is not a joke, my man. I literally physically went and entered 80 houses trying to buy them. It was wild. I had problems, but God made a way out of it. He asked me to break my addiction and be generous, and I did it. And it was hard, and I cried, and I was angry because I need to grow up. But he made a way, dude. He just did. And it's stories of hope like that I actually think help shape all that we do. Like if the story and the systems that you're building for your church, the systems that you're building for your church aren't layered in both the story of God's work through your church and the story of God himself, then I don't know. I just think you're getting like it's a lot less effective than it probably should be. And again, we both get it. Like we both have the same certifications, right? We believe this is the best way to communicate to people. Partly because we're telling ourselves these stories all the time. Like this is what I love. That's what I love about like preaching and talking to people. I know every time I stand up in front of somebody, there is a story in their head. One, that they think they're living, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Who knows? Two, about what this is going to be when I'm talking. And if I can both get into that and then maybe in creative ways break it and reshape it to be something beautiful and redemptive, you've got people, man. But if you can't communicate to the story they think they're already living and then show them a better one, I think you're being left, like all of your efforts could be exponentially magnified. Put it that way. All of the energy you're putting in could be better.
Yeah. It's good. Well, Copper, this has been a fun conversation. If people want to get a hold of you, learn more about what you're doing, sign up for that mailing list or waiting list, how do they do so?
Sure. I'm the only Copper Nelms on the internet, I believe. I think I'm the only one there. So just literally search Copper like the metal with my last name. You'll find me. If you're looking for our agency, it's just forchurchagency.com, or it's easy. The wait list pops up there pretty quick. It's jump on that. You'll start getting some communication from us as we get closer to it. And I hope it really does serve people, man. Like, we're trying to bridge that gap between having to put together free resources and spending $40,000 a year on a consultant. We think there's a place to actually help people, because honestly, man, I think people have like, they have the gusto and the creativity to know what they need. They just need a tool to run with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Sweet. Can I pray for you as we wrap up?
Please.
Father, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for Copper and what he's doing with For Church Agency. I pray that you would bless his company as they kick this thing off and launch it. Lord, I pray that you would, through his company, help churches and congregations be more generous, Lord. I know that it is such a blessing when we invest and give to you and your causes and your kingdom, Father, and release our addictions on consumeristic behaviors and pour into you and what you're doing and in your kingdom, Lord. And so I pray that the church would get behind this, that they would start moving, that we as a body would start moving in a healthy direction with how we steward what you've given us, because we know that it's all from you. And we just pray that For Church Agency and Copper and his team would be a catalyst for this kind of change within the church. Lord, we love you. Thank you for Copper and his willingness to come on the show, and pray that these insights and his expertise would be helpful for other ministry leaders. We love you. Thank you that we get to be a part of your redemptive story in partnership with you, Lord. In these things we pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
My man, it was a joy. Absolute joy.
All right. See you later. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ministry Growth Show. If you've enjoyed it, we'd appreciate it if you rate and review us on your favorite podcasting app, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you have a story or expertise to share with other ministry directors and pastors, or know someone who would be a great guest for the show, let us know. We love connecting with ministry executives and sharing their wisdom and insight with our audience. Just send us an email at podcast@reliantcreative.org. And lastly, if you need help telling your ministry's story, we would love to share how we can help in that process. Check out Reliant Creative at reliantcreative.org and book a call today. See you next time.